about having you here is I can just come in the office where you're taking your notes and watching and just kind of just shake my head and giggle at what we're watching here thinking, this approach from the Bucks doesn't seem like it's going to work. What can you show us about what Chris Paul did?
When they lay me to rest, it's going to say on my tombstone, here lies a guy who never understood unnecessary switches and drop coverage. All right, I'm telling you right now.
Big-ass tombstone.
I don't get it. It is going to be because I don't get it, and the Phoenix Suns were prepared for it. Mm-hmm. And, some things you put in terms of sets that you want to try to execute. Other things are just reads that you teach over the course of a season. And here's what I'm talking about, this unnecessary switch. I just don't get why. If you're PJ Tucker, you're on the ball. No screen is set. This is not a screen. This is a slip. There is absolutely no reason right here why Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to jump out. Why not just on this slip, just let Giannis go with him? You wanted PJ Tucker on Chris Paul for a reason at the start of the possession. Just leave it that way, but they don't. Instead, here you go. You got the switch. All right, now you got DeAndre Ayton on PJ Tucker. The only question is, how are we going to get him to basketball? You see Chris Paul looking in right there. He doesn't like the way this looks because you got two help guys right here ready to pinch. That's not a great angle. So now here's where the instinct kicks in, and this comes through repetition. Let's get it to the corner. Again, you still got the mismatch in the post. PJ Tucker fronting. Take a look at the weak side. This is not a good passing angle. Taking a look in there. So how do you get him to basketball? Instincts. You teach us over the course of a season. Let's flash middle. Let's get the ball right here. Great read right here from the weak side by Johnson right there. Freeze it. Now PJ Tucker is going to front. He's still fronting the entire time. The problem is this is a 7-footer down here. Yep. This is easy pitch and catch. This is literally a practice drill that you anticipate when a team fronts, go high, low. That's as easy as it gets for DeAndre Ayton. Now here's the other one, the drop coverage. Starts off to run some action, and really all they're trying to do is get this guy occupied. Brook Lopez is looking all over here because they wanted Devin Booker off a single double. I love the Suns because they always get into quick secondary action. Watch how fast DeAndre Ayton sprints up, and he's going to leave Brook Lopez in the dust. And now Chris Paul is going to come off with all kinds of room. Comes off the screen. Look at this cushion. Now, most people will think, let's pull him and shoot that. The problem is Chris Paul doesn't like that shot. He loves coming left, snaking back to the right. So he's going to take Brook Lopez on a nice little ride here, and he's going to get some help from Devin Booker, who clears his man out so Chris Paul can get to that little leaner on the baseline. This is all set up by drop coverage on the initial point of attack. You cannot do this against Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You just can't do it, and I think you're going to see a massive adjustment. Now, I heard Stephen A. talk a little bit about it, and I heard Mark Jackson talking about it. What they need to do is put Drew Holiday and Chris Paul and say, you got to be a dog on him. Hunt him. At 30 feet, go under the screen. You don't have to go over. Inside the three-point line, fight over the top, get a hard hedge from the big, and I want Drew Holiday on Chris Paul's hip as much as he possibly can unless he's in foul trouble. Booker's going to get his numbers. So use other guys on him. Connaughton, PJ Tucker, Middleton can get him some. Bryn Forbes, go ahead. Chris Paul is the key to this series, and Drew Holiday needs to lock in on him as much as possible.
You think of a quarterback like a vet. Just say Tom Brady because there's nobody older than him, right? You're trying to disguise a blitz or something. He's going to look at it. He's going to know exactly what's coming. I can't think of a worse point guard to leave in a situation where he could hunt the matchup he wants when you're going to switch than Chris Paul. You could have shown time and time again where he just chose who he wanted to guard him.
Yeah.
You can't let that happen.
And it's not. And tonight it was more as a scorer because that's what was there for him. But there's other plays in this game I could have shown you where he ends up getting like a hockey assist. But again, it leads to the Bucks chasing the ball around like Keystone Cops because they got the matchup they wanted. They broke somebody down off the dribble. They're in the paint, and now the Bucks are reacting to that. I just didn't see anything Milwaukee did tonight that said to the Suns, we are going to dictate to you what we want you to do offensively. Everything they did was set up to react. Can't do it. Chris Paul, Devin Booker are too good at ball screen players. DeAndre Ayton is too good and too skilled and too talented on the slips and the dives when he gets a smaller defender switching onto him. You've got to let these guys play him a little bit more straight up. At least let them fight over some screens. You obviously are going to need help on some screens, but to premeditate switches, like the first example I showed, when no screen is set, and you had PJ Tucker on Chris Paul for a reason, no screen is set, and now let him go run with Ayton and let Giannis jump out on the guard. And eventually now the Suns are just going, okay, we practiced this drill. Let's go to the corner, run some high-low, and get DeAndre Ayton a layup. It was so clockwork. Give Monty Williams all the credit in the world. They've watched a lot of film on this team. They anticipated the switches, and they hammered them every time they did. But I do think it was easy pickings for the Suns. This was not, rocket science out there for them, for a guy like Chris Paul to figure this out. Get what you want by calling out who you want to set the screen. There's got to be a massive adjustment on the part of Mike Budenholzer. And if there isn't, they can't beat this team.
There you go. You mentioned Drew Holiday. He spoke afterwards about his mindset defensively tonight.
Really just saw him being aggressive. So at that point, I felt like I wanted to just annoy him, kind of get him off rhythm, be able to either make him pass the ball or take tough shots, tough too. So, yeah, that's something that we're going to have to make an adjustment to in game 2.
And with the switching, just what did you see on that in the first half versus second half?
First half, they got a lot of fouls. They went to the free throw line a lot. We got to do better with that. D-Book got to the free throw line. Great free throw shooting team. And then second half did better, but just think Chris Paul got a little bit too comfortable.
That's interesting. Both he and Bud mentioned one word and specifically, rhythm.
Yeah.
How does that reveal itself specifically to Chris Paul? What are they talking about in your opinion?
When he gets space off a ball screen, it's exactly the world he wants to live in. He's one of the best mid-range players that this league has ever seen.
You can still do that, by the way, kids. They don't all have to be dunks or three-pointers.
That's right. And he wants that lean back shot, and he wants to get it somewhere inside the foul line area. It's his favorite place to be. That's comfort zone. That's rhythm, allowing a guy to get into his wheelhouse. And when you let him come off of that kind of space, that's what's going to happen. So, look, if I'm Drew Holiday, and Damian Lillard called this guy the best perimeter defensive player in the NBA. It's a pretty good source that's coming from.
I'd say.
Okay? If I'm Drew Holiday, I'm going to Mike Budenholzer, and I'm saying, listen, let me hound Chris Paul and try to wear him down. I'm going to fight over as many screens as I can. And again, Scott, one of the adjustments that teams just don't make, and I don't know why, because you can ask guys to do this, depending where the screen is set, you don't have to go over every screen. If a screen is set at 30 feet for a guy like Chris Paul, you do not need to fight over it. He's not going to pull it from there. Every now and then, maybe. This isn't Curry, Trae Young, or Lillard. Go under if it's set far out on the floor. Go under, meet him on the other side, but keep Holiday on him. If it's set tighter to the three-point line, yes, you've got to chase over the top of that. Hopefully you get a little help from the big, but then ultimately fight your way back to Chris Paul and track him from behind if you're Drew Holiday. I am going to Mike Budenholzer and saying, let me do this. I need to disrupt his rhythm. Booker's a different animal altogether. Chris Paul is the guy that is the key to this series, and Drew Holiday is the one guy they have that is equipped to be able to take on this challenge and at least disrupt his efficiency tonight. Chris Paul had it far easier than he expected in his first finals game.
It's funny, I just wrote down that word, and far be it from me. I've never been in the arena, but certainly Chris Paul, I'm not saying it was easy. He made it appear to be. Apparently, Brook Lopez moments ago just said he could have done a better job trusting his teammates on switches. That's going to be what they